If you could change one thing about the world, what would you change? If you're watching this video, I'm guessing you probably answered something along the lines of, make the world vegan. So how do we do that? How do we end animal exploitation? In this 6-part mini-series, we'll show you the roadmap to a vegan world and how you can help make it a reality. Veganism is a really unique movement because it touches virtually every aspect of our lives. Food, clothing, entertainment, transportation, product safety. It's not just a diet, it's a lifestyle. It's a moral position. Veganism is truly a social justice movement. And when we analyze past successful social justice movements, there are 4 stages that emerge: personal transformation, alternatives, mass mobilization, and finally, transforming dominant institutions. Personal transformation refers to a shift on the individual level, for instance, an individual becoming vegan. Alternatives refers to the free market innovating alternatives to the dominant system. So for instance, vegan meats, vegan leathers, cruelty-free safety testing, etc. Mass mobilization refers to focused activist groups, such as Anonymous for the Voiceless, PETA, Vegan FTA, etc. However, with the advent of social media, this definition can be expanded to include any online coalition taking action for the vegan cause. And finally, the efforts of mass mobilization culminate in transforming dominant institutions. This takes the form of changing or ending practices through legislative, judicial, or economic means. Legislative and judicial action results in changing laws. For instance, outlawing the sale of meat that came from gestation crates, animal welfare protections, or hopefully one day, abolishing animal exploitation altogether. Economic transformation means that certain practices or products are voluntarily abandoned by the industry because they are no longer profitable or popular. A great example of this economic transformation is Apple's September 2023 announcement that they will no longer use
leather in any new Apple product
due to its high carbon footprint. Apple voluntarily abandoned leather to stay relevant with a public that demands sustainability. Now, every stage of the social justice process is important, and the end goal is always to transform dominant institutions. But there's one stage that really stands out as a significant leverage point: personal transformations. Because personal transformation fuels the entire process. It drives the creation and innovation of alternatives. Alternatives are only successful if they're profitable. So the more people that personally transform and buy the alternatives, the faster the alternative market grows. Personal transformation also furthers mass mobilization. The more people who are vegan, the more people become mobilized for vegan activism. And mass mobilization pressures those in power to transform dominant institutions. So how much of the population do we need to mobilize to create a vegan world? Research by Erica Chenoweth, a political scientist at Harvard, shows that nonviolent social justice movements have always succeeded in creating change when they mobilized at least 3.5% of the population. Chenoweth points to the consumer boycotts in apartheid-era South Africa as an example of the 3.5% rule. In a massive nonviolent protest, Black citizens refused to buy products from companies with white owners. The result was an economic crisis among the country's white elite that contributed to the end of segregation in the early 1990s. So how close is the vegan movement to this critical 3.5% threshold? As of the end of 2023, approximately 1.1% of the world's population is currently vegan. So we need to at least triple the amount of vegans in the world. That may seem like a daunting task, but it's totally possible. Imagine if every vegan was able to inspire just 3 people in their community to go vegan and become active in vegan advocacy. Only 3 people. Then we would reach the critical 3.5% threshold and a vegan world would be inevitable. Now, activism can take all sorts of forms, from protests to lobbying to creative entrepreneurship, etc. And all those forms of activism are necessary and contribute to the larger movement. But not all forms of activism are accessible to all people. Not everyone can start a vegan meat company or lobby the US Congress. Not everyone feels comfortable at a protest. But inspiring people to go vegan is a form of activism that is accessible to everyone. And as we've demonstrated, it's actually one of the most effective forms of activism. If all the vegans in the world were successful at inspiring just 3 people in their community to go vegan, we would reach that critical 3.5% threshold. And as we've seen from the research out of Harvard, every nonviolent social justice movement that actively mobilized 3.5% of the population has succeeded in creating meaningful change. So every interaction you have with anyone is an opportunity to inspire that person to become vegan. And those personal transformations will one day culminate in a vegan world for all living beings. There is so much power in our everyday conversations. And so it is critically important that we know how to communicate effectively. In this 6-part miniseries, we'll explore the art of plant-powered persuasion, effective communication for vegans.